understand the sun in Virgo, what you really need to do first is make sure you know clearly what the sun represents, and make sure you clearly know what Virgo represents. Once you have that under your belt, you can go about combining the two. And the way that you'll combine is to look for resonance between the symbolism of the two. You'll find two types of resonances. One is harmonious and the other is dissonant. The harmonious resonances between a planet and its sign will point out the ways in which the native benefits from or is blessed by that placement. And the dissonant resonances between the planet and the sign point out the way that the native faces challenges. So now let's do this with the sun in Virgo. I'll walk you through it. One thing that you might note is that the sun in Virgo is different from sun in Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and Leo that we've done so far, because all of those had some major dissonance or harmony right at the root of what the planet and the sign represented. With the sun in Virgo, we don't have that. This reflects the fact that the relationship between the sun and Mercury, who's Virgo's owner, is rather neutral and iffy. And what that means to us when we go about interpreting the sun in Virgo is that we have to be more careful than usual even. We always have to pay attention to the context of the planet and the sign, what kind of influences it has and so on, because that will skew the harmony or the dissonance into a more positive or less positive direction. But in the case of the sun in Virgo, because it doesn't already have its own intrinsic character of being highly resonant or highly dissonant, it's therefore even more sensitive to the context that it sits in. And really what you have here by understanding this is you actually have a very good understanding now into what Virgo actually represents. Virgo itself is very sensitive to context. It's very aware of conditions because it's very dependent on and determined by and responsive to those. Adding to this, you might note that the sun is usually near Venus and Mercury. They're often in the same sign. And Venus and Mercury have very dramatic dignities in Virgo, Venus being debilitated and Mercury being exalted. So the sun can very easily get into very dramatic or drastic contextual conditions when it's in Virgo. Now, as we look into the sun in Virgo more specifically, we're going to find one clear dissonance, one clear harmony, and two mild harmonies. Again, revealing the nature of Virgo to be quite balanced. Let's take a look at this dissonance first. What we see is that Virgo represents a patient kind of prudence, caution, and so forth. And this clashes with the sun's nature to be very male, authoritative, and decisive, and confident. So the basic baseline interpretation for this is that sun in Virgo tends to signify indecision or timidity in the commitment, non-confidence, taking a lot of care about things, being hesitant to reach firm or clear or final decisions about anything. The next thing that comes to mind with the sun in Virgo is a mild harmony between the fact that Virgo is a very managerial sign because it's very organized and it's very practical and it has a lot to do with accounting and so forth. So it's very managerial. That's mildly harmonious with the fact that the sun is a leadership planet. So the signification here is that the sun in Virgo tends to show good managerial skills, organizational skills, and the ability to be a leader, not in the sense of an army commander or a person giving clear and direct orders, but a person who's pays a lot of attention, takes a lot of time with things, gets a lot of details right. On the topic of details, that brings up another mild harmony between Virgo and the sun. Virgo's nature is to be very detailed and to pay a lot of attention to the details and the context and the conditions. The sun has something which is mildly harmonious with this because the sun is about vision, clarity, having a clear picture of things. So the sun in Virgo tends to represent having a very detailed nature, being meticulous, being exact about things, not wanting to just get things done, but wanting to get all the details right. And finally, we have a full harmony between the fact that Virgo is very pure. It's very clean about things. And therefore, Virgo is a health-oriented sign. Being the 6th sign of the zodiac also plays into this. Virgo is health-oriented, and the sun is a health planet. So the sun in Virgo tends to show a person who's healthy and or health conscious. So I hope you enjoyed this exploration of what the sun in Virgo signifies. Bear in mind that the actual interpretation of a person is going to involve more than just whether or not their sun is in Virgo. But now you're taking one step, a really good step actually, to understanding what a sun in Virgo would mean in somebody's chart. And especially if you mostly focus on what the resonances and dissonances are, then you'll know what you're working with when you see a sun in Virgo. And you'll know what the context is modifying. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss all the rest of the videos which I'll be doing. Next up will be Sun and its debilitation in Libra.